That's right, it is almost 2025 and I'm only just getting around to making a video on the Bloodhound's Fang. And although I'm adding to the catalogue of over 1 million videos where people have already covered this weapon, we of course are going to do our own take on this build, destroy everything in New Game Plus 7 with it, because even still to this day, it is one of the best weapons you can use. So sit back, relax, and let me show you how you can make this crazy build for yourself. So yes, everybody, like I say, we are finally covering the Bloodhound's Fang. It is coming out of storage and seeing the light of day, as I believe this is actually going to be the first appearance this weapon has ever made on the channel, and I wasn't ever trying to hate on it, it's just I know this weapon has been covered by literally every other Elden Ring YouTuber, so you didn't need me telling you how good it was, because you already knew that. And with that said, you're probably wondering, well, if that's the case, Jazza, why are you making this video now? Well, it's actually because I got a few comments recently asking me about how you should start your games, or like the best build that you can start your games with, especially if you're going through your first playthrough. And where Christmas is coming up, there's probably going to be a few of you picking up the game for the very first time, so if that's the case, I highly recommend that you use this particular weapon. Now, firstly, how do we even obtain it? Well, that's actually really simple, because all you need to do is head to this location on the map where you will find the Forlorn Hound Everjail. It's actually super close to where you first spawn in the game, but as a little warning, if you are playing the game for the very first time, please don't just rush here, and make sure that you get a hang of the mechanics first, because inside the Everjail is going to be the enemy wielding the Bloodhound's Fang, being Will, and you do need to defeat him in order to get the weapon. This guy can be tough, like I say, for new players, because he likes to move around and use his incredible Ash of War, the Bloodhound's finesse, so definitely come here when you're comfortable, beat him, and then once you do so, like I say, you will then have access to this incredible weapon. Now, I am just going to quickly make this note. The build that I'm going to be showing you today is going to be the final product. I'm not going to be showing you a step-by-step guide on how to get absolutely all the items that are necessary, and we are going to be using some items from the DLC too. But for those of you that have clicked on this video and are new to the game, all I will say is essentially once you've picked up this weapon, go and explore the world around Limgrave. There are going to be multiple different areas you can go to with various different bosses in random caves, Everjails like the one we just showed how to get this weapon from, and as you explore the world around you, you'll be collecting runes as you defeat enemies and picking up talismans that you can equip on your character, which will help give various buffs, as long as you are just increasing the amount of vigor that you have on your character, which is your health, as well as your strength and dexterity values to increase the damage you deal with the weapon. You will be fine until basically mid-game with a relatively low level Bloodhound's Fang, but the beauty is this weapon does upgrade with somber smithing stones. So they are the more unique smithing stones that you can find throughout the world, and as I say, if you explore, you can very easily find a load of them and get this weapon to at least a +4, +5 by the time you start going into Lion Dell. So although you're going to get mad at me because I'm going to show you stats that you probably won't have until the very end of the game, that is just how you should naturally progress, and that way I haven't spoiled anything for you and you can go and have fun with this weapon. But of course, for everybody else that is clicking on this video looking for the ultimate build with this weapon, I will indeed now show you the stats, and in fact the gameplay in the background, if I haven't said it already, is from New Game Plus 7, so this build is more than capable of destroying everything, even in the hardest iteration of the game. And in order to deal that crazy damage and get through New Game Plus 7, here are the stats that you're going to need. And yes, as always, it is a level 150 character, and as you can see, we've got 50 points into vigor, 14 mind, 23 endurance, 35 strength, 55 dexterity, 9 intelligence, 33 faith, and then 10 arcane. And again, just to explain those a little bit more, the character that we started with on this is a samurai character, but you can use any starting class that you want, because essentially the Bloodhound's Fang has a C scaling in strength and a B in dexterity, which is why we prioritize dexterity over strength a little bit, but it is still useful to delve into strength, because with some of the talismans I'm going to show you in a moment, we do actually hit the the first soft cap with dexterity, but then we've also got 33 points of faith in this build so we can run both Golden Vow and Howl of Shibiri, and that is because those are going to be the two best buffs for just pure damage output, which is exactly what we're going for with this kind of build. But then more importantly, the Samurai class only starts with 8 Arcane, so I pumped that up to 10 so that we can use useful buffs like Blood Flame Blade, because again, another neat thing about the Bloodhound's Fang is that it is one of the only somber weapons in the game that allow you to apply different weapon buffs to it. So typically, unique weapons like this will not allow you to apply any additional buffs, but we can still apply greases and things like the Blood Flame Blade to this weapon, which just adds to the versatility as well. I highly recommend that you do run Blood Flame Blade, but of course if you do come up against anybody that is weak to lightning or magic, then obviously do apply those greases to the weapon instead. And I also know some of you like to delve into a slightly higher character too, so if you wanted a level 200 guide for this particular build, here are the stats for that on screen now, and essentially we're just hitting like the final soft caps for both dexterity and strength, whilst also giving ourselves a little bit more vigor just again to hit that first soft cap with our health. But of course, if you feel like you're already doing more than enough damage and want to make this build a little bit more fun, maybe take some points out of dexterity and strength and chuck them into faith to include a vast array of different incantations. So like I say, switch up the gameplay and just make this build a little bit more fun, but as I've said already, we're just purely going for the damage on the weapon, which is why I delved into those stats. And again, in the interest of doing the most damage, whether you're using a level 150 build or a level 200 build, these are going to be the talismans that I recommend that you run. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the talismans is going to be Millicent's Prosthesis, because we can actually proc successive damage output really easily with this weapon. And it also, of course, gives us the +5 to dexterity, which will hit the first soft cap if you're using the level 150 build. But then we've also got the two-handed talisman in here just to give us a constant passive buff of +15% damage output to the weapon, of course whenever we're two-handing the weapon, which should be all the time. Then we've also got the Lord of Blood's Exaltation to give us a +20% damage output whenever a bleed proc occurs, and then of course we are also using the Shard of Alexander to boost our damage output with the insane Ash of War, the Bloodhound's Finesse, because I haven't actually really talked about this much, but this is going to be the star of the show, because it is a unique Ash of War that when you press the button for the first time will slash your enemies whilst you're doing a sort of like backwards motion, kind of like a retreating backslash. But then there is also a follow-up that you can do by pressing your heavy attack, so that's your RT button on Xbox or R2 on PlayStation, where you will then lunge forward in a quick step motion, becoming invisible for a second, which yes, does dodge attacks, to then do a secondary swipe against your enemies. I believe both of these attacks deal 22 points worth of stance damage each, so if you of course connect with both of them, you'll be able to do 44 points of stance damage, which is actually quite significant. And aside from just doing thousands of damage naturally, this weapon is also capable of breaking enemies' poises really quickly too. But of course, just to finalize the build, we've still got the Wonder Physick, which inside of that I highly recommend that you run both the Strength Knot tier and also the Stone Barb Crack tier to again just boost our strength value, giving additional AR to the weapon and also increasing our stance breaking capabilities, because as that's giving another 30%, it just means we can break our enemies' poises even quicker. And of course, as you've seen throughout the video, the armor that we're running is indeed going to be Rakshasa's armor, and we've also got the white mask applied to our character, because again, that gives a passive buff of whenever a bleed proc occurs, you get a +10% extra damage boost. But all I will say is whenever you're coming up against enemies that may be immune to bleed, definitely swap out the white mask and the Lord of Blood's Exaltation talisman for things like maybe the Ritual Swords talisman, and then just put the Rakshasa helmet on just to give you again natural boosts to your overall damage output, and then that way you'll have coverage for literally any enemy that the game has to throw at you. And of course, with this setup, the Bloodhound's Fang will just tear through them. And just like that, that is the ultimate build for the Bloodhound's Fang, or at least in my opinion, that is the best build you can make around it. And I'm sorry that it's taken me way too long to make a video on this weapon, but where I was late on the Elden Ring scene anyway, I already knew that everyone had covered this weapon, and I didn't really want to just make the video for the sake of it. But as I said towards the beginning, where there's going to be some new players jumping on the game for the first time, especially with Christmas just around the corner, and of course Black Friday as well, well, maybe some of you are getting those cheap deals in, I thought now would be a good time to make it, because this weapon truly is the best weapon that you can pick up in Limgrave. Like, I challenge you guys to name me a weapon that you can pick up as early as the Bloodhound Fang and be able to equip it as early as the Bloodhound Fang and destroy everything as early as the Bloodhound Fang. But of course, if you do know any better weapons, do get down in the comments down below and let me know. But also let me know what you think of this build. What would you do to change it? Is there any ways to make it better? Again, feel free to leave those comments down there too. But other than that, you guys know the drill by now. If you happen to like this video or found this Bloodhound's Fang build interesting in any way, definitely make sure that you leave a like rating down below, because that not only helps out the channel tremendously, but it lets me know that you want to see more overpowered and ultimate builds like this in the future. And if you are new to the game or new to the channel and are seeing videos like this for the first time here, then definitely make sure that you subscribe, because we cover all kinds of Elden Ring content, whether that's builds like this, challenge runs, or even co-op stuff like Elden Ring bingo against our friends. So yeah, if you want to stick around for all this crazy content, like I say, hit that subscribe button, and that way you won't miss out on any future content. But otherwise, I think I have said everything that I need to. Obviously, go have fun with this build. Let me know how you get on if you do happen to use this weapon and build. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you're having a great day, and I guess I will catch you in the next video of whatever it is that we make. Bye bye.